I'm Zach Snyder.
And I'm Aden Matthews.
And welcome back to another YouTube podcast. The one-stop shop for anything and everything related to YouTube.
The show where we're recording a third one in one day.
Heck yeah.
Which is new for us. Very new.
Yeah. Usually we just do one or two, and we got a little juice in the tank.
Well, I guess it makes sense partially because both of them have been like under an hour. So technically we're still spending the same amount of time, but we're just splitting it into 3 different topics. So
yeah, we're milking
that works.
Content.
Yeah, another video, guys. Wow. How about you do something different? Okay. Sorry, Mom. Didn't know you were watching the podcast. Have to insult me.
But you could get a job.
Maybe I will. Fuck around and find out. What are we talking about today, Zachary?
Today, we're going to be talking about YouTube exit strategies.
I knew this day would come when Zach would finally quit, but
finally quitting.
We're here.
Today's the day.
We're here. We've arrived.
Yeah, we'll get into exactly what we're talking about, when we get there.
Absolutely.
But I do got to bring something up that is very, very near and dear to my heart.
Oh.
And I feel like everybody else needs to hear this. For only $30 a day, you can support a child in need in Africa. This isn't the right. And you sent me the wrong script. What the?
The wrong ad. Sorry. That was for our new podcast, another Facebook podcast. But unfortunately, that kind of got mixed in with the YouTube podcast ads. I'm sorry, bro.
It's okay.
Didn't mean for that.
Let me pull up the right thing. Okay, I found it. Our sponsor today is Awesome Creator Academy.
Whoa.
The YouTube starter kit. We're doing something different today, boys. If you're getting started on YouTube, you have just a little bit of money to throw around. Why not check out the YouTube starter kit? For only $99, you get $1,500 of value in dozens of downloads, from templates for advanced YouTube thumbnails, channel artwork, in cards and lower thirds, royalty-free background music, fonts, and more. Pay one price and have unlimited access to future downloads as they come out. Check out the link in the description or the show notes, and in doing so, you'll be supporting another YouTube podcast.
Mais bien sûr, si vous en avez pas $100 et que vos sujets toujours soutenir ce podcast, vos pouvez devenir un partisan sous Anchor. Sur anchor.fm/another-YouTube-podcast, vous pouvez décider de nous soutenir financièrement à $1, $5 ou $10 par mois et nous lirons votre nom sur le podcast. Bien que nous pourvoyons divers si podcast pendant très longtemps. Plus, nous avons des soutiens financiers. Plus, il nous sera facile de maintenir un calendar coherent.
Gracias, Senor Aden.
That was in French.
Oh, that was in French?
I went to Google Translate and put that bitch in there. And
it was Spanish. Oops.
Look at this. This is what I had to read, Zachary. Look at this. Hopefully you got something out of that.
Yeah. So I'm glad we're talking about exit strategies today. That's going to be very helpful. Thank you to Awesome Creator Academy for the affiliate sponsor, as always. Yeah. Shout out to Anchor for giving us an awesome place to put our shit.
You're epic. You're very epic.
I do mean shit.
In French and in English.
we're multilingual in this bitch. Man.
Anyway, quitting, right?
Anyway,
the thing we've been trying to do.
Quitting YouTube is a thing that I actually hold very near and dear to my heart.
Exactly.
It is it's like the Mount Everest of goals.
Uh-huh.
And one day I'm gonna climb that damn mountain. But until then, I figured we could talk about other people's exit strategies from YouTube.
On YouTube. Heck yeah. So this topic kind of came about from a video Zach had sent me from Vsauce 3 host Jake Roper.
Jake Roper, the man.
This is his personal channel, not on Vsauce 3. And it's just this little quaint little video called My YouTube Exit Strategy. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Been watching this man's content on and off, not religiously or anything. But I found out about the personal channel. I was just looking around watching some shit. And I saw this video. And then Zach, of course, had recommended to me later. But it's a nice little video because it brings up an idea that I feel like is often pushed aside a little bit, especially if you've been doing YouTube like we have for a pretty long time. This idea of what if it doesn't all work out? Or when will I know it's time to move on? Type of questions. And for Jake, it's not so much that things are going poorly or failing at all. Man's doing very well for himself. Yeah. It's that he wants to transition the creative work he does from YouTube to something like TV or film. Because that's his overall passion, his main passion. Right. YouTube was just kind of a stepping stone for him, which makes sense. But it brought up this question in our own heads of like, this is really interesting, and it's so awesome that he like decided to be upfront and honest about that. And so it kind of got us thinking over here at another YouTube podcast, like, what would our YouTube exit strategies look like, and how would we go about them? And is it too early to think about stuff like this, or not early enough? You know, so we're just gonna kind of talk about it, all casual and all candid and honest and shit.
Candid? Let me put on some clothes. No,
Wait, you were naked?
Yeah, are you not?
Yeah. Totally. Totally.
Every time I record these podcast episodes, I strip completely down to the nude. And you know, let it all hang out so that I can get as honest as possible.
Yeah.
When you're not clothed, you're at your most vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we agreed to that in 2017. But I guess I've been bamboozled. Who calling?
Hello? Yeah, I'm looking for like a new like podcast host, honestly. This one's broken. This one's defective. Yeah.
Yeah, you could say that again.
It's the naked thing again. I don't know why I keep getting the naked ones always. But it's very concerning. That keeps happening. Oh! Alright, Zach, you're listening to this. Meant to mute my mic on that one.
Yeah.
Are you saying anything interesting?
You do that a lot, actually.
Or just the naked thing again, honestly.
I got clothes on. Don't worry, bro. I put clothes on for you.
Whew.
You know.
Thank you. Thanks, bro.
Won't be as vulnerable this episode, but anyways.
Glad you thought about me.
YouTube exit strategy is something I've thought about for a long time, and I think the reason is a lot of old YouTubers that I watched, they always talked about using YouTube as a stepping stone to something bigger and greater.
Right.
It's weird though, because as YouTube has evolved, as online content in general has evolved as an industry, it's almost like, I mean, there are film and TV people that are making YouTube channels now.
Right.
So there's the opposite happening.
I think it might be a bit of a generational gap, honestly. Because I think for a certain group of people, like Jake, who had started YouTube at such an early point when the platform was still new, that it makes sense from his perspective that this was just like a thing to do to get to the next stage. Because at that point in time, YouTube was not much of anything big at all. I mean, it was just kind of like the company started from like a couple of PayPal executives And one of them filmed the first YouTube video of him at the zoo making a penis joke about an elephant trunk.
Yep.
Not joking on that one. And
There's
from
a
there,
YouTube short for you.
It was kind of just a casual thing, right? Where people would upload videos and talk in front of the camera. Some people definitely had aspirations for fame or business or whatever, but there really wasn't like a good pathway to success yet.
Yeah.
And now here we are in 2021 where YouTube is the number 2 biggest search engine. It's getting millions and billions of videos. We're seeing new features like YouTube Shorts, and you can get monetized now by only having like, what is it, 3,000 hours or
4,000 hours of watch time and 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, like a clear, obtainable path that's easy to do, and people have gotten so much better, and there's been all this tech and money and stuff invested into it. It's almost a thing now where, like, for a lot of people growing up in more of this newer generation, this is the something greater. This is the achievement. This is the high point. Film and TV are like a nice added bonus, but it's not the thing that a lot of people are really like wanting to do. They want to do YouTube. They want to do Twitch. They want to do online content creation, partially because that barrier to entry is so much easier, but also it's just like, it's what a lot of people watch, you know?
Yeah.
Like, most people growing up aren't going to be watching TV as much or movies as much. It's going to be mainly YouTube videos and online content creators, and it's very easy to get inspired that way creatively.
And even when you look at traditional media, YouTube produces movies and TV shows for their YouTube Premium. They have, right? Like, there are big influential people like Joe Rogan, who had a podcast on YouTube, and now he's being bought out. Now he's been bought out by Spotify and is getting paid millions of dollars to just do his podcast on Spotify. There are numerous creators and celebrities, influencers, entrepreneurs that use YouTube and online content as the platform, and some of it like gets them better opportunities and bigger deals. There's definitely like some vloggers that go on to be actresses, but they still make YouTube content. There's a comedian that I follow and I found on YouTube, and he's got a Netflix special now. And I'm like, okay, cool. He literally created his own version of a Netflix special because they shut him down like 2 years ago. So it is definitely like still a stepping stone to other things. And I think now, as YouTube, I don't think YouTube's going around for anytime soon, but I also don't think it's in its final form yet.
I agree.
And so I think right now, as traditional media is starting to take a backseat to everything else, we still have the opportunities of both, right?
Yeah.
You can still take full advantage of YouTube and Twitch and podcasts and Instagram and TikTok and whatever, but you can also take advantage of being on TV shows, being on talk shows, being on movies, reality TV, books. Like there's still like all these other traditional media things that you can do and make a lot of opportunities with. And so I get it why some people would want an exit strategy.
I think a lot of it too has to do with ambitions, right? Like, what are you ultimately trying to accomplish?
Yeah,
because I think that's different from everybody. LGR, the channel that I put in the top 50 YouTubers list, and still someone I watch every new video they put out, does like retro computer stuff and game reviews and whatever. But it's very chill and well put together, a vibe I'm trying to emulate type of shit. And he was asked on a Q&A not terribly long ago, maybe about a year ago or whatever, of this question where it's like, what do you want to do like after LGR? Do you want to do like a convention, a museum, a movie, a TV show, whatever? And dude was just straight up honest. He's like, I just want to do YouTube, man.
Yeah.
And this is someone who's like at 1 million subs, someone who is at the height of his attention, right? Someone who could do whatever he wanted to. The opportunities like are available for him, but he gets joy out of sharing things online to a public audience, and this is the best way he can do that for free. with no other creative limits, talk about whatever you want, and have guaranteed money coming in from it too. Like, for some people, that's all they need, right? I feel like as long as I was personally creatively satisfied and enjoyed what I was doing, that I could see that being all I need, potentially, right?
Same.
But I'm not at that point yet where I can rule out any possibility, just because for as long as me and Zach have been around, we are still so very, very, very early. So it's almost like take what we say with a grain of salt, just because we are so very early on in all of this, to really make a call, one way or another.
It's weird because when you think of when you think of legacy, right? I think a lot of people that think of these YouTube exit strategies or are thinking of their future and stuff, they're thinking of legacy. And it's like, you look at the film industry, you look at somebody like Quentin Tarantino. The man's made like 9 movies. That's it. He's going to make one more, I think, and then he's done with movies. He might get into TV or something. But it's like his legacy is going to be so clear cut as the dude that made 10 really banging films, right?
Right.
Or somebody like Kendrick Lamar. He did a lot of mixtapes when he was younger that, aren't publicly available anymore, or, at least aren't. Point being, he's put out like 4 really great albums, and he'll probably continue to put out albums, but he's not doing it at a breakneck pace right now. He hasn't put an album out in 3 years. And it's like, it's because he's thinking about legacy. And so it makes me wonder, like, as someone who thinks about legacy and achievement a lot in my life, like, is doing YouTube videos, is that big enough to solidify me as, like, an important creator in history?
Right.
Maybe it, and trust me, like, I know I don't need to be that. I don't. But there's still part of me that wants to be, wants to have that legacy. And I think anybody that's super ambitious about their their creations, like, thinks that too. So it's like, do I need to go out and make a movie then? Do I need to write a book? Do I need to make a game? Do I need to do something that's, like, big? So that, I'm not forgotten about in 10 years, right?
Right. It's a legitimate question to ask, I think.
I think so.
And one that only is going to be harder the further you go into it, where you've done YouTube for, let's say, 10 to 20 years. And then you're like, all right, well, I've kind of accomplished everything I wanted to do. What's that next step? Would I want to be remembered for the later part of my life, right? What I want to accomplish then. And then it gets into questions of, like, what that looks like and what's good for you. I know for Jake in this instance, in this video, man's wanted to direct for a really long time. Man loves being behind the camera, being involved in these big productions. He likes the social aspect of it. He likes talking to people, building something together, that creative collaboration. He likes not having to deal with YouTube ads and sponsorships and the trying to get a video out at a breakneck speed kind of, like, attitude that YouTube has, and really wants to spend a long time on one thing. And I can say, like, YouTube is not an ecosystem for everybody. It's not one that encourages a lot of really well-made videos a lot of the time. We talked not even that long ago about, like, how a lot of YouTube videos are filler. And the reason for that, from an algorithmic standpoint, is because it's more important to get out something to keep people on the platform rather than to put out something that will keep people remembering it, per se. And that gets into a huge, like, debate of, like, well, is YouTube art or is it lesser art than a film? And I can't say one way or another. I have very different opinions on both. But that's not what we're deciding here. We're deciding, like, as a creator, is film that exit strategy? Is books that exit strategy? And thinking about legacy definitely plays a huge part into it. I think you're right, 100%.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to mention that, like, even if you get out of doing YouTube and you go do, like, some bigger, greater thing in your eyes, There is the saying, it's not always greener on the other side, right? Like, there's that thing where, like, Martin Scorsese, another like popular filmmaker, he has a thing where he talks about, he makes a movie for himself and then he makes a movie for his audience. He makes a movie for himself, he makes one for his audience. One for me, one for you, one for me, one for you. And a lot of people recommend doing that with YouTube so that you don't get burnt out and you do feed the algorithm and your audience what they need. But it's like a lot of that stuff isn't going to just go away because you're off of YouTube. We are a very algorithm driven society now, and that's because of the internet. I watched a video earlier from a guy named Nathaniel Drew. I don't know if you've heard of him or not.
I've heard of his channel before.
Yeah. He's like one of those productivity dudes. Same like Matt Diavella and that kind of thing. Anyways, he made a video on his second channel and he was talking about algorithms and the YouTube algorithm and stuff.
Go?
And it's like, we didn't even used to use the word algorithm unless we were talking about math.
Yeah.
And now, like...
calculator.
Now we just talk about, like, now algorithm is just word used in our regular conversations if you're even barely a part of YouTube. Even if you don't understand how it works, like, you're using the term algorithm. And that's crazy. But, like, that's not going to go away if you go to another industry anymore because everything is driven by that now.
You're just replacing one set of rules for another one.
Exactly. That's a really elegant way to put it.
There will always be limitations. There's always going to be restrictions. There's always going to be a part of creative work that you don't like. There's always going to be a little bit of like, I'm not 100% satisfied and I want to work on things forever, but like you can't, right?
Yeah.
So you have to try a lot of things and you have to stay committed to something, even if you don't necessarily like every aspect of it. It's just kind of life, right? Even if you hate dealing with certain people and certain things, you do it in the hopes that you can spend time doing shit you really love, you know?
I also think back on like some of the world's most influential people like Leonardo da Vinci and Benjamin Franklin, where like they're known for very specific things, but they also did like hundreds of thousands of different things in their lifetime that like we don't even know about, or barely hear about. So it's, you could do YouTube videos and that could be your career and that could be your livelihood or whatever, and you could still go out and make a movie and it be the thing people know you for. So I think there's a way to have your cake and eat it too.
I mean, it's part of the reason we do so many projects, right?
Yeah.
It's part of the reason where
100%.
we're like, yes, me and Zach are probably first and foremost YouTube-based creators. But that doesn't, like, take away from the fact that we also do a Let's Play channel or a podcast or comedy music. Comedy music's a great example. Where if I die and make a movie, I'm probably going to be remembered for that movie. But then somebody who's really into just Aden, right, and want to make, like, a biography about Aden, they can be digging through the vault and be like, wait a minute, he made fucking comedy music? Wait, he made a Pro Jared musical? Who's Pro Jared? And then, like, that's going to be a fun little adventure of discovery for people to be like digging through the real backlog, the real meat Aden content,
right?
That people didn't see a whole lot of at the time. So I think of like, I'm not going to be remembered for my comedy music. I'm not going to be remembered for Let's Plays. I'm probably not even going to be remembered for mostly game review YouTube stuff. But I do all of that not because of legacy, but because I enjoy doing it now in the moment. And that's very important. I don't think you should, at least not 100%, live for the future and what people will think of you when you're dead. So that's just very stressful and almost anxiety-ridden. Like, you almost have to, at least in some sort of fashion, do what you enjoy doing now and love doing that, and say fuck the future and whatever happens, right? You have no control over what people are going to think of you at the end of the day.
Definitely.
You'd hope people like you and you made a piece of art that impacted people. But you can't force that on anyone. So
what's really nice about this Jack Roper video is that
Jake.
he's Jake Roper. My bad.
Jack.
Sorry, it's Jack's Films, actually.
Jack's Films, bro?
No, the Jake Roper video, what's really nice about it is he is very positive about it. He mentions that he's given himself a year to, like, continue doing YouTube. And he even mentions, like, he'll never, like, be done with YouTube. He just won't be making as much. By the way, I think, like, good old Vsauce1, my man Michael, like, I think he's basically already taken the YouTube exit strategy because he only puts out a video every once in a while.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's similar things with, like, JonTron. Like, so there's already big YouTubers that are, you know, not pumping a lot of their time and energy into YouTube. But I did want to talk about the negative side of YouTube exit strategy for just a minute. Just because we've talked about this on the podcast before. Our good old friend McJuggernuggets.
Oh.
I'm
sure this is a negative. This might be a positive.
I mean, it's a little vindication for us, I feel like, but he put all of his time and money and energy into an app called Storyfire, which he was branding as a YouTube alternative, and he was upset that YouTube was demonetizing him for doing demonetizable things. He made this app. He stopped uploading to YouTube entirely and was like, Storyfire's making me so much more money than YouTube. And now he's like tweeting that it's not all candy and rainbows because there's like not many people using his app.
Nobody investing in it, give him more money to do it type shit.
Yeah.
Which,
I thought that... Go ahead.
On the one hand, entirely devoid of exit strategy stuff for just 1 second.
Yeah, go for it.
I really wish people would stop trying to, like, reinvent the wheel in terms of platforms. Just personally, right? Like,
yeah, I agree.
Twitter is established. YouTube is established. They have their problems for sure. Competition is a good thing for sure. But 99% of, like, crowd-funded platforms are platforms that are reactionary. So I'm making this because Twitch did that. I'm making this because YouTube did that. Yeah. They all fail and waste a lot of people's times and money. And even worse, paint a real bad image for creators who had dedicated that amount of time to try something new on that platform and ended up losing out on potential growth elsewhere. That's all scummy. That's all stuff that I wish people would stop doing. Hopefully he'll learn his lesson from that. But on a YouTube exit strategy point, back on topic here a little bit, he really wanted this to be like his thing to leave YouTube from, so he can manage his own little platform here. And don't think he had thought through it entirely before making that jump and decision. So that sucks for him.
When you look at the people that have, like, used Storyfire, and I downloaded it because I heard from Boogie2988 about it because they're friends for some reason. He's friends with Keemstar too, so it makes sense. Anyways, I downloaded Storyfire, and, like, you can't even upload videos right out the gate. You have to, like, upload some written posts, and then eventually you can upload videos. So there's, like, this weird, like, barrier to entry on the app. He's marketing it to people on YouTube, and it was almost like, I mean, I'm just saying, it was almost like he created the app so that he could get his viewers to watch his videos on there so he could make more money and promise something that most people weren't even going to be able to engage in.
Right.
And that's really scummy. So I think, like, that's obviously not to do a YouTube exit strategy. Like Aiden said, don't be reactionary to the platforms because it doesn't work. Like, you try to fix one problem, there's 1,000 other problems that YouTube is trying to fix every single day.
Right. Like, if you have an idea that for a platform that's, like, really well thought out and it comes out of a desire to, like, you want to do it for fun and you think you could offer something, like, feel free. Yeah. But the type of shit I've seen so much is just like, I'm going to make an anti-YouTube, but in order to do that, I'm going to rely on YouTube to spread the word and create the drama. I'm like, you've already kind of failed.
Yeah.
You've already kind of failed if it's like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it by using my competitor and drum up energy. Like, you're giving more time and effort to them. But that's, again, I don't want to shit on him. Well, I do, but I don't want it to be the entire podcast.
For sure,
so.
for sure.
Have to move on, unfortunately. What are some other examples of like bad exit strategy ideas that have happened or could happen?
I think there's probably like, I mean, there's a very like unrecorded history of people leaving YouTube because they didn't make it. Right? Like there's so many creators every single day that post their last video and they're just done. And it's sad. It really is disappointing because a lot of people like that do YouTube. I'm not going to say a lot of people. There's a decent amount of people on YouTube that have the potential and are making good content, or even just like better than average content. Like they could be going somewhere, but for whatever reason they lost the motivation. They heard something from somebody and it got them to stop using the platforms. Whatever it may be, I feel like you could always do YouTube as a hobby. Mm-hmm. And if you continue doing it, you're going to get better at it. And as you continue getting better at it, like, you know, you can actually make some kind of money off of it. I feel like everybody has that potential. And it's like, there's some people where I'd be like, yeah, go all in on YouTube. But not everybody has to do that. And I think they still could find some success in the long, like 10, 20 year like journey
of it, right? Or at least learn some skills that are valuable to get a job somewhere else that requires those skills. Like that's a pretty good exit strategy, right?
Yeah.
Like you do YouTube and you do content creation, you have a resume of talent and somebody hires you to work on a TV deal or editing social media stuff for other people. Like, wow, you know, you turn nothing into something, you know? And I mean, if YouTube wasn't your passion to begin with and you were just doing it for fun anyway, like, sure, might as well.
I think so. I mean, I've been doing YouTube for 10 years. Like, this is my 10th year. And, like, that's crazy to think about. But, like, I'm in it for the long run. Like, the long haul. And, I'm okay with that. And I'm doing other stuff in the meanwhile to get my bills paid. And, like, you know, things aren't moving as fast as I'd like them to be. But I know that when I get the opportunity to move things faster, like, then it'll be go time, you know?
Right.
The good thing though is through these 10 years, like I have learned an enormous amount of skills that I would not have learned anywhere else, that have been extremely valuable to my life and to my career.
Mood. And that's, that makes it worth it a lot of the time.
I think so.
More than anything.
Do you have a YouTube exit strategy? Have you thought about it? Is it something that like you have realized, or what's your thoughts?
In a lot of ways, YouTube was a pathway or a gateway to other things. Mm-hmm. To meet new people, right? It's kind of the thing. To improve my skill set, that's another kind of thing that YouTube like allowed me to do. To try out new pieces of technology because I'm very obsessed with that sort of stuff and spend way too much money. So that's a pathway, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's felt like recently that pathway is to the group, right? Is YouTube is a cool thing to do, yes, but it got me in the door to meeting so many wonderful people that could potentially go farther from this group and do other crazy things down the road. And that's not so much an exit strategy as it is like me using YouTube and leveraging it for different things. Like back when Blue Catch Productions was starting, as a high schooler, right? Just graduated. Mm-hmm. Didn't know if I wanted to do college or whatever. Let's try and see. And then I got an audience, and then Blue Catch Productions became about like forming a community. I'm going to use Blue Catch Productions to form a community of people to talk to, and so on and so forth. So I've always used YouTube for different things and achieving different goals and whatever. But in terms of of just straight up like where would I need to be at to potentially exit or do something else. It'll be a thing where it's like I'll know in the moment, more than likely. Like it'll be like I'll reach that point where I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good, honestly. I'm happy with what I've put out. I'm happy with what I've created, and now I'm ready to go on and do something else. Something probably creative, more than likely, just because I picture if I do quit YouTube in some form or fashion, that drive to create stuff just isn't going to disappear.
No, I doubt it.
But what that looks like right now, what that next greener pasture is, but I have no fucking idea. You know, like, it could be so many different things, and I'll know it in the moment. But it'll be a little bit before I get to that point.
Cool.
What about you?
I've definitely thought about it. It's, but also like, I think I'm like so content with making YouTube content that my ambitions get ahead of my desire to just make YouTube videos.
Yeah.
So like does that like make sense? Like
I get you.
Like yes, I do want to make a film one day. And like I've mentioned, like I want to write a book. I want to make some albums, and like I want it to be like really good quality, like make like art that people appreciate on a higher level. But like on the complete flip side, like dude, I love making videos on YouTube. Like I just love everything about it, to the point where I like, even if it's not just Yin, even if it's not just doing this podcast or whatever else I'm doing now, like I dead ass feel like I could just make YouTube videos till I die and be okay with it.
Yeah.
And that's weird. It's kind of crazy, but like I don't know. It is it's just been a part of me so much since I was 16. And yeah. As far as like legitimate exit strategy though, I feel like I'm almost looking for that exit strategy in my client video editing stuff.
Oh yeah. Which is related to YouTube.
Which is, I mean, the only reason I'm able to get into video editing for other people was by doing it for myself for so long.
Right.
But like, I'm looking into scaling my business so that I can make money from that. Get to the point where I have enough people working for me and with me to where I don't actually have to work much in the business, and I just have like some savings, and then I can just live off of that savings while I grow the YouTube shit to where I'd like it to be. And then like the sky's the limit at that point. Then you get influencer marketing, and like you start working with gigantic brands. You can do whatever. Like you can do whatever, you know, as much as I would love a good old communist United States of America. We do live in capitalist city right now, and you know, I'm gonna take advantage of it to a certain extent, and the biggest reason is just because not only does money allow you to do whatever in terms of creative projects, but also lets me help people, and like until our government wants to help help the common man. And help me, I'm going to try to use my resources to help the people that need it the most.
Right.
And so
I've talked to you about that too, where it's like I get much more of a creative oomph and joy out of helping other people more than I do myself a lot of the time. And I've tried to get back to being a little bit more like, let's just be selfish for a while type of energy, just because there does need to be a balance there. But no, I feel that 100%, where I feel like I'm at my best shit, where I'm helping contribute to a larger project and a larger thing that isn't just about me. Like that's like how I'm wired, right? I want to be like part of a team, part of a something, right? And I want to be involved in it clearly to a big degree, obviously, because I have a lot of opinions and I talk too much. But I get a lot of drive out of helping other people and achieving that for myself and others and shit. It's hugely important. And again, that would be a thing where even if I were to stop doing YouTube or shit like that, I guarantee you I'd probably be in someone else's kitchen cooking shit for them, right? Like working on someone else's big dream YouTube channel, and I'm like fucking that Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi type figure. I'm like, yeah, I did YouTube for 60 years. Let me help somebody else out type shit.
I think that's another really cool
Not
thing
even for
about
money
us.
either. It'd just be like, I just want to do it.
Yeah. No, I get you. Like, it's a cool thing because even with like the experience that you currently have, like, you can use that to help other people, and like you never know who's gonna be big, right? And then you like, if you help them, like they'll use their resources to help you back, right? So it's no, I get it. Like, I get it completely. I'm super independent, so like, while I do want to make a movie, I don't even know how I'd be able to give so many different things to other people to do. Like, that'd be fun. It'd hurt my head.
That'd be the movie.
Yeah. Yo, I'm about to Charlie Kaufman this shit.
Called Zach Delegates His Time, the film.
Yo, Charlie Kaufman in the building. Here, let's go. But it's like, I don't know. I'm just like super independent, and like I want to make my shit. I want to make it happen. But also, important thing about YouTube is you can't do any of this shit yourself.
Yes. Yes, like, yes, 1,000 times.
No matter like who says they're like a self-made YouTuber or millionaire or whatever, like they had some person come in and be a mentor. They had somebody network you with somebody else and give you that connection. You're never doing any of this by yourself.
Even on a base technical level, like everything I've learned is from YouTube videos and other
shit.
Yep. How I render, what my settings are, where I find images, like. Yes, I'm the architect putting together, but I'm using other people's bricks and foundation.
100%.
Even if I don't meet them or know them, and obviously it's on a bigger level with the type of stuff we do and this podcast and LHG and everything of the sort. But yeah, it's a different mindset to think about for sure, about like how you want to help and build other things.
I agree. I completely agree. You getting some food?
They go into Food Giant. I'm not going to Food Giant.
Okay.
I'm staying right here. Damn. I don't like grocery shopping.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Nah.
Kind of the people thing again. Really coming back to. I say I want to help other people, but really, it's all an act. It's all I can't stand. Can't stand them.
I want to help people from afar.
Yeah.
You know?
As long as it's not grocery shopping. You know?
No, I like going to Walmart and like going through the grocery aisles, grabbing like 3 things, and then spending the rest of my time in the movie aisle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
Now that I can get behind, 100%.
My mom's like, "You took so quick in there," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, I only spent 2 minutes getting groceries. The other 12 minutes was looking at movies I wasn't gonna buy."
I just realized, that we've kind of done this episode before.
Have we?
Yeah.
I
was looking through another YouTube podcast, and sure enough, episode 46, Should You Quit YouTube, popped up. On the little
yeah.
Not that
I guess
changes what we're doing, but I just thought it was funny, you know?
I mean, yeah, we did content creation in 2020 and 2021. We've done.
Only 17 people listened to that episode, so clearly nobody paid attention the first time.
Hey, that's right. That's right. Reusing content. That's the true YouTube exit strategy. You just keep recycling content until somebody figures it out.
Yeah.
And then you recycle other content.
We've brought it up in other episodes too, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure.
Either as a joke or seriously.
Yeah. I am curious. I do want to ask a question of the day. If you are a YouTube creator, which I'm assuming most people that listen to the podcast are, do you have a YouTube exit strategy in mind? Is YouTube the end goal or something else the end goal? All that good stuff. I'd love to hear it, honestly.
Heck yeah.
Other perspectives in there.
Maybe you're further along in this and have a little bit more perspective than we do.
Yeah.
It should be nice to hear.
I agree.
Dope.
We do make quitting YouTube jokes all the time.
Oh yeah, those won't be stopping.
Nah.
Maybe next episode, perhaps. You never know.
I'm using this thing called Trello I've used it back when I worked in my web development job in college, and then I started using it with a couple of other guys that I'm working with on some other client projects. And I was like, I got so much on my to-do list these days. Like, it's a great place for me to actually use for my personal stuff. So I got it on there and set right on the to-do list. Look at that. Quit YouTube.
Right there.
Wild, man.
Right there.
Yeah. Anyways, I've been Zach.
And I've been Aden.
And thank you for listening to this episode of another YouTube podcast.
Bye-bye, everybody.